All right, so we all think we know the story of Jonah. You know the one, the prophet who runs from God, the big storm, and of course, the giant whale. It's a classic, right? A tale of disobedience and a really, really big fish. But what if the story we all learned as kids, the one from Sunday school, missed the single most important detail? What if the real story is darker, way deeper, and honestly, a lot more amazing than you've ever imagined? So, this brings us to a question that completely flips the script on the whole narrative. Ready for it? Did Jonah actually die inside the fish? Now, I know that sounds pretty radical, maybe even a little crazy, but the evidence? Well, it's been hiding in plain sight this whole time, right there in the original text.
Okay, before we dive into that, let's just do a quick recap of the version we're all familiar with. You know, the one that's a staple in kids' books and has been told in sermons for, well, for centuries. So the story goes, right? God tells Jonah, hey, go to Nineveh. Jonah's basically like, nah, I'm good, and gets on a boat heading in the exact opposite direction. Then, bam, a massive storm hits. The sailors figure out Jonah is the cause of all their problems, so they toss him overboard. And that's when he gets swallowed by a giant whale. He somehow survives inside for 3 whole days, says a prayer asking for forgiveness, and then gets, well, vomited onto the shore. A pretty straightforward story of survival, right? Or is it?
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. The very first clue that we've been missing something huge, well, it all comes down to a single word. A word that shows up in pretty much every popular version of the story you've ever heard, and this is the key part, it is completely, totally absent from the original text. The truth is, the word whale is a mistranslation. Yep, you heard me right. It simply isn't there in the original Hebrew. Think about that for a second. For centuries, our whole picture of this story, this iconic image, has been built around a word that the original author never even wrote.
Let's just look at this side by side. On the one hand, you've got the word we all know, whale. But on the other, you have the actual Hebrew phrase used in the original text, gadol. And trust me, they are not the same thing.
So gadol, it literally just translates to great fish. The text is being intentionally vague here. Why? Because the author wasn't writing a marine biology textbook. This great fish is meant to be a symbol, and what it symbolizes? Well, that's revealed in the single most important clue in the entire story. And that clue, the key that unlocks this whole mystery, is found in Jonah's own words, in the prayer he offers from inside this great fish.
And this right here is a total game changer. When you actually read Jonah's prayer, like really read it, you realize he isn't saying, "Oh God, please save me." Not at all. He's speaking in the past tense, describing something that's already happened to him. It's like he's reporting back from a place no living person should ever be. Just listen to this direct quote from chapter 2. He says, "From the belly of Sheol I cried." See that? He doesn't say from the belly of the fish or the whale. He says, from the belly of Sheol. So, what in the world is Sheol?
Well, Sheol is the ancient Hebrew word for the underworld, the realm of the dead. It's described as a place of darkness, of silence, of being completely cut off from God. So when Jonah says he's crying out from the belly of Sheol, he's making a statement that is totally unambiguous. He's saying, I'm in the land of the dead. I died.
And suddenly everything just clicks into place, right? The gadol, this great fish, it wasn't some biological creature at all. It was a symbol. It was a vessel whose whole purpose was to take Jonah from the land of the living to Sheol, the land of the dead. The belly of the fish was the belly of the underworld.
So you might be asking, okay, why does this matter so much? Well, it matters because changing this one single detail completely transforms the entire point of the story. It takes it from being just a charming little fable and turns it into an incredibly profound theological statement.
Think about it. The myth, the story we all know, is about a miraculous survival. But the reality, what the text is actually saying, gives us something so much more powerful. A symbolic story of death and resurrection. Jonah doesn't just survive his ordeal. No, he experiences death itself, and then he's brought back from it. He is, for all intents and purposes, resurrected. So let's just put all the pieces together here. What we end up with is a totally new picture. This story was never about zoology, it was always about theology.
The word whale is just a mistranslation of the Hebrew dog gadol, meaning great fish, and the smoking gun, the most critical piece of evidence, is that Jonah himself tells us he was in Sheol, the realm of the dead. That means the great fish is really a symbol for death itself, and the whole narrative becomes this incredibly powerful foreshadowing of death and rebirth.
And that leaves us with one last, kind of big question to chew on. If a story as famous as Jonah and the whale could be so completely misunderstood, all because of a couple of words lost in translation, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other ancient truths, what other profound ideas are still just waiting to be found, hidden just beneath the surface of the stories we think we know so well?